Terry thought he had finally defeated those strange entities. But his joy was short-lived when he heard the dogs screaming but couldn't see them. Terry didn't follow them because he was scared, so he ran into his house, shut the doors and windows, and waited for the sunrise. The next day, Terry realized that the dogs hadn't returned, so he went into the woods with his son, where they found 3 piles of ashes, accumulating in 3 small circles on the ground, as if a fire had broken out there then extinguished. Welcome to the world of secrets and shadows, where terrifying stories are breathtaking. If you're a fan of excitement and mystery, do not forget to press the subscribe button to receive all new updates, and press like if you like the story. Let's take a journey together into the depths of horror. The family weren't only losing the cows were reappearing at random locations and in weird and frightening way. One day, Terry's son found a cow drowning in a pond near the house, so he immediately called his father to come and help the cow. So Terry came running, confused as to how a cow could drown in such a small pond. But his question was answered the moment he reached the place. The cow was in fact killed, not drowned, and thrown into the pond. When Terry pulled the cow out of the water, he discovered that its guts were missing with no blood stains around. Also, the cow appeared to have undergone an extremely precise medical surgery to remove its organ. It wasn't devoured by a predator, it was a precise surgery carried out by a skilled surgeon. Consecutively, more disappearing cows reappeared in similar manners, dead, like they underwent a surgery, with missing organs. That wasn't the worst part, because after that, the family reported seeing strange entities roaming around the house at night. And they described them as humanoid-looking but without any features. Out of fear, the family had to keep the curtains closed to avoid seeing them, but they kept hearing them knocking on the doors and windows. They also claimed to have heard them speaking in gibberish. Life was becoming harder in all aspects. The kids were missing school because they couldn't sleep well due to their fear, and their school performance declined. Terry and his wife were constantly anxious and worried about their kids and possessions, and they couldn't do anything about it. One day, a major event occurred that terrified Terry and caused him to lose his nerves. Terry was sitting by his room's window, as usual, holding his gun and observing, when suddenly, he witnessed a phenomenon for the first time. In the sky, Terry saw a rounded object that looked like the orb you're seeing now, and lucky for him, his gun had a scope, so he used it to zoom in and get a closer look at that orb. Terry described it as a portal or a hole in the sky, and its color was orange. Despite the fact that it was nighttime, he noticed a blue color inside that orb, as if he were looking at the sky during the day. He felt as if he was looking into a portal to some other dimension. While he was examining the portal, he saw a black entity creeping out of it, and it looked similar to the entities they saw at night, roaming around the house. Terry watched the entity leaving the portal and entering his ranch. Then the portal closed and completely disappeared. We can say that it was Terry's worst night. He saw even more portals, or blue orbs, over the next few nights. His wife and kids admitted seeing them too. They all agreed that the phenomenon was the most terrifying out of all they had witnessed. Their ranch was being invaded by unknown entities that were unaffected by bullets or weapons, and they saw them every day, roaming around the house, making strange noises, slaughtering cows and leaving their skins and heads, for no apparent reason. According to Terry, when the orbs got closer to them, they felt heavily anxious and unable to face them. One night, when Terry was sitting with his 3 dogs, that orb suddenly appeared and started slowly approaching them, and the dogs began barking loudly. So Terry decided to let the dogs attack the orb, hoping that they would scare it. The dogs ran towards the orb, and it backed away until it disappeared into the woods. Terry thought he had finally defeated those strange entities, but his joy was short-lived when he heard the dogs screaming but couldn't see them. Terry didn't follow them because he was scared, so he ran into his house, shut the doors and windows, and waited for the sunrise. The next day, Terry realized that the dogs hadn't returned, so he went into the woods with his son, where they found 3 piles of ashes, accumulating in 3 small circles on the ground, as if a fire had broken out there then extinguished. At that point, Terry had lost 14 cows and 3 dogs, and he was concerned for his and his family's lives. Finally, the moment that everyone has been anticipating arrived. When Terry decided to take his family and leave the ranch as soon as possible, he put the ranch up for sale and contacted a news channel to tell them his whole story with the Skinwalker Ranch, and that he needed to sell it as soon as possible. His story was published in newspapers, until one day the news reached Robert Bigelow, a businessman and billionaire who invested millions of dollars, only to assemble a team of scientists dedicated to discover and study supernatural and paranormal phenomena. He called his team the National Institute for Discovery Science, or NIDS. We can say that Robert was really obsessed with supernatural phenomena. When Robert learned about the Skinwalker Ranch and that it was for sale, he figured it would be a great research center for his team. Not only to investigate that ranch, but also to serve as a base for future research cases. Robert bought the ranch from Terry in 1996. Although Terry couldn't bear staying at that place, he was intrigued by what he had experienced and wanted to know what it really was. Terry and Robert agreed that Terry would stay on the ranch with the cows, bulls, and other animals as a second manager and provide them with necessary information they might need for their research, because he lived there for 2 years and witnessed everything that happened. After all, Robert and his team were scientists and businessmen. They did not know enough about the ranch. Robert agreed and moved to the ranch with his team. Robert took care to assemble a team of scientists who did not believe in the supernatural, who were skeptical and logical, or who didn't believe in such things, in order to truly prove whether something supernatural was going on there. Firstly, the team decided to conduct tests on the family to make sure that they weren't lying. The tests involved polygraphs to tell truths from lies, and medical examinations to ensure they didn't have any psychological or mental issues. These tests were carried out over the course of a year. The ranch's environment was examined as well, to look for any dangerous plants that could emit harmful substances, making the family hallucinate if they had inhaled them. The team conducted extensive and thorough research. They even inspected the water pipes. They went to great lengths to ensure that the problem wasn't psychological or environmental in nature. The results showed that the family was healthy and the environment was completely normal. No strange events occurred that year, except for the appearance and disappearance of lights from unknown sources. One day, Terry asked his wife to help him put yellow marks on the cow's ears. They took their dog with them. The process took approximately 40 minutes, and they weren't paying attention to their surroundings. They were focused on the cows and marking them. Suddenly, the dog started acting strangely, staring in a specific direction. The couple headed there and were shocked to find the first cow they had marked, about 40 minutes ago, was surgically dissected, and nothing remained of it except its head and legs, exactly like what was happening before. But this time, it happened while they were close to the cow, but they didn't notice. They quickly called the team, and they came in with a vet, who stood in front of the cow, stunned, because its wounds were so precise, as if they were done by a surgeon inside an operating room, not by a regular person. What really stood out to him was the absence of blood around the cow. How? The team went out with guard dogs and searched the ranch for a suspect, and the dogs led them in a specific direction, the forest's tree line. The team headed there, but they stopped when they saw a massive wolf staring at them from behind the trees, so Terry took out his rifle and shot it. But it was not affected and ran away into the woods. The team spread out in all directions in order to surround and capture that weird creature, and they looked everywhere but couldn't find it. A very large creature that resembled a wolf but was neither a wolf nor a human. However, they detected a foul chemical odor that Terry had told them about before. The team returned home frustrated and started discussing what they had seen. They followed the creature's footprints and they were so close to it, but they couldn't comprehend. How could something that enormous escape them so easily? They continued to look for that creature throughout the following month, but to no avail. All they noticed was that the dogs were behaving strangely, as if they were afraid of something. They felt threatened every time they tried to go out into the ranch. One time, Terry and his wife were walking around the ranch, checking on the animals, when they noticed from a certain distance and angle that the barn, where the 4 bulls were normally kept, looked empty. They thought that was strange and became very concerned, because those bulls were very expensive. and they didn't want to lose them. They rushed to the barn to find out what was going on, but the doors were locked. No one entered or exited the barn. Terry looked out the window and saw the 4 bulls inside, but, for some reason, they were all gathered in a corner and unusually quiet. They always fought and were notorious for being hard to control or keep in one place. It normally took hours to gather them and bring them into the barn. That time they were all gathered in a corner, hypnotized and looking around in fear. But Terry didn't see anyone with them, so what were they afraid of? Terry told his wife that the bulls were inside the barn. Then they suddenly resumed moving around and fighting as usual. Terry, as usual, couldn't find an answer to his questions. The team discovered that some of the barn rods were highly magnetized, so they began investigating the ranch's magnetic fields. 2 of the team searched for magnetic fields using a compass, but then they suddenly smelled the same strong chemical odor from the wolf before. They were scared, and for minutes the compass was leading them towards the smell, until the smell gradually disappeared and the compass returned to its normal position. We didn't know the connection between those 2 things, and neither did the team. However, the team started connecting the dots. All that happened in that place was connected. The animals' disappearances and the strange incidents were linked to that strange creature. But what was that strange creature? That's the most important question. When the orb appeared before their eyes and approached the house, they saw the same human-like creature that Terry had seen crawling out of the orb. The researchers ran towards it in terror and started to smell the same foul odor, but it ran away from them, and they failed to catch it yet again. That was the most frightening incident the team had ever encountered in that place. In 1998, incidents began to decline significantly, and even when something strange happened, the team couldn't find out its source. The team stayed at the ranch until 2004, but they eventually gave up and felt helpless. Terry and his family were disappointed after 8 years with no results, as well as for Robert, who was eager to find out the truth. However, the team described their experience that they were dealing with creatures far stronger and smarter than humans. They could see them but couldn't control or understand them. They took some photos, but due to the late 1990s limited technology, they were of poor quality. They could only photograph the dissected animals and some of the lights they saw, which are still considered insufficient evidence. Colm Kelleher, a biochemist with a PhD in his field, published a book in 2005 in which he talked about his real experience as a member of the Skinwalker research team. The book was published in collaboration with the team's only journalist, who was allowed to stay, George Knapp. The latest updates on this matter was in 2016, when renowned businessman Barnton Fugel bought the ranch for research purposes to prove that it had nothing to do with anything paranormal or supernatural. Brandon said after purchasing the farm, "Despite the fact that I bought the ranch as a skeptic of the supernatural, a strange phenomenon happened in front of me that I can't deny. I saw a strange object in broad daylight, along with many other witnesses." Brandon's goal was to prove Terry and his family wrong. They claimed that everything that they experienced was paranormal or supernatural. So he bought the ranch to show that they were lying and exploiting the story. But then he saw the strange object with his own eyes and admitted it. He said that he bought the farm as a skeptic, but what happened was out of the ordinary. So, this story finally came to an end. As mysterious as its events were, there have been numerous films and documentaries made about it, and numerous logical and illogical theories about it arose. One of those theories suggested that those events were caused by aliens. Another claimed that the ranch serves as a portal to other worlds and parallel universes. The most well-known theory is the third, which is something of a legend. According to it, the original inhabitants of that area were members of the Navajo tribe, and they were tormented by an evil witch who could take the form of any creature. Since she often took the form of a wolf-like creature, they nicknamed her Skinwalker. According to the legend, the witch chased anyone who lived in that area. Another theory holds that the area is the site of secret U.S. experiments, and due to their similarities, Some refer to it as the second Area 51. The final theory proposes that everything is a big lie, where Terry, Robert, the scientists, and witnesses work together to gain media attention. This theory, however, does not apply to Terry, because he did not appear in the media even once, and he did not allow any of his family members to appear in the media. Finally, I'd like to hear your thoughts and which theory you find most convincing. And if you have any other theories, you can share them in the comments, but your theories should be based on your own interpretation. Do you believe it was supernatural or just a big hoax? We can now say that our story has come to an end. If you liked today's video, please like and share it everywhere if you want to support me. Thank you so much. The best is yet to come. Here we have reached the conclusion of our episode for today. We hope you liked it. Write us your positive comments that we will show in the next video. Wait for us in the next episode.